One camera, two camera, three camera. Episode 3 of the Saint Soldier Project. Today I'm here with my brother, and we're going to discuss his upbringing and his experience with, we're calling it undiagnosed ADHD. I want to learn a lot about what he's been through. He's taken a proactive approach on this, and from him, I'm learning what I can do and what I should be doing. So I've started that process. So we're gonna get right into the episode. This is episode 3 of the Saint Soldier Project.
Okay, I
That
want
might
you
be
to
the
do
best fucking
that.
intro I've
I
ever done
want
in
you
my
to do that
life.
one more time. I think when I was younger, I felt that like my brain was racing all the time. Luckily, I would say I grew like a fond nature to this where I enjoyed thinking a lot. That might be annoying to a lot of people, and I think it would like torment a lot of people, which I think it did start tormenting me afterwards. But in the start and when I was young, like I was like this curious person, this passionate person, which I still am to this day. I go into topics and specific things so deeply, and then I switch and I go into the next thing. Like I want to rinse as much as I can out of something and then move on to the next and then move on to the next, which actually is a symptom, as much as I've researched, of ADHD, right? And I think that's what the episode is going to be about today, which is undiagnosed attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, right? Or just ADD. And I'll go further on into
I
what
think we both like thought we had it without knowing what it was.
well, you didn't believe me at first. Like
Yeah, probably
I,
because I didn't actually know what it was, to be honest.
and, and when something's on the spectrum, like when these kinds of things are, there is no black and white that you are and you aren't. There is a point where it's affecting you too much or negatively, and there's a point where you can kind of avoid it and still manage your life without having it disrupt you. And we're still fine.
We're still fine. Like we were very like well functioning people. Not that it's like something real bad or whatever, you know. And also like we didn't really understand it completely because nobody really talks about it like that. But I was like, if I'm able to function at like such a high level, like work so much with having this, then I was like, what can I achieve like if I was like given something or given the help that I needed or whatever it is. And I know you got that. So like tell that story.
Sure. While I was like growing up, I felt that these passions that would come in and come out of me, and I would be drawn to things, and then kind of I'd have all these quirks too, which honestly I get a lot from my dad. Like, and now that I'm older and I can assess more of like my life backwards, I see a lot of this stuff is quirks and like characteristics that our dad has. And so a lot of these things in my youth seemed like a superpower to me. And I've mentioned this to you before, that I was like, I feel like I love this ability to think so much, and my brain's always running and it's always kind of racing through these thoughts. I think it's a superpower. And I really enjoyed it because I'm like, I think about things that people don't really care to think about. And I spend so much time like almost massaging topics out and
All in your head.
all in my head all the time. And then I read this quote. It goes, a knife all too blade cuts the hand of the user that uses it. Meaning that if you're just sharp and you're just thinking all the time and you just sharpen this blade, you can't actually wield it. You need a handle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I had no grip on these thoughts. And that got worse as I got older and my brain started to fill and select which kind of things it needed to reserve and which kind of
Because
thoughts
even
it
if like
didn't.
your brain is being used up for like all these racing tasks when you're younger, and then when you get older and you have real tasks that you have to do, it's like they're battling for like which one gets the space in your mind, right?
Exactly. Like if you have a racing mind, which, hyper kids do, which I was a hyper kid, and you don't complete them, oh well, right? You're a kid. But when you got older and I started doing work at a company and stuff, it actually, I never told you this, it triggered me when I was in California. I was working and my manager would tell me a numerous amount of tasks to do in a day. And I knew that they were, almost near impossible to complete in a day, but the point was to complete as many as possible. And my way of tackling them was so immature at the point because this was my first like time really dealing with a proper job. And I would get a task, and as soon as I kind of felt like it was in a satisfactory position, I would switch over to a next task. And my boss at the time, or at least my mentor, was very anti ADHD, like very calm, like almost like too sober to that kind of degree. And he'd be like, Tesh, just finish one task, right? Then you're going to move on to the next one. And I was like this hyper excited kid that was like, but like, your boss has told me to do this. I got to finish this. You told me to do this. I got to finish that. He's like, just finish one task. And that's when I started to realize that this is where I'm different. This is where it's acting as a weakness and not as a superpower. Like, yes, I can think about a lot of things, and that's what's made me a very multidimensional person, because I've spread myself out in so many regards. But this is where I'm weak because if I need to complete one thing, I get gratification too soon. And this is the fault of course, the new age and social media and stuff, where it's made my already existing condition perhaps even worse.
Yeah, yeah, like amplifies it.
Yeah. And before leaving to California, before moving out, I set up an appointment with my family doctor, and I was like, hey, I feel like I have something that doesn't allow me to focus too much. My parents are sick and tired of me uh, wandering off and pondering. My mom would get mad at me all the time for just sometimes like dead
Zoning
face,
out and shit,
zoning out,
yeah.
and I'm just thinking about the most crazy stuff. And she thinks I'm like something's wrong with me, and I'm just like, no, I'm just thinking about stuff. I'm massaging topics in my brain, and so I went to go check myself out in that regard. And he's like, okay, of course, he's just going to write the requisition, and he doesn't take me to a psychologist immediately. I actually go to speak to a in between step, which was no, it was a like psychotherapist or some kind of um, yeah, I guess we can call it a psychotherapist. I think you're right. It was a psychotherapist, and brilliant, brilliant man. Like, I don't know, I created such an amazing conversation with this person, and what I believed to be something I was going to go in there and talk about my ADHD, not at all. Like, I've told you about this guy, I think, a little bit. I had like 4 sessions with him. Matab, I went in at the start, he knows he wants to assess why I'm here and the matter. But he like dug up a part of me that I didn't even think existed. He started speaking to me because when he asked me what was wrong, I started just blabbering out everything that connected, like an ADHD person probably
Yeah,
would.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
That's
he
our job,
started,
right? You didn't.
yeah, and he connected all of these things and just grabbed all my loose strings and kind of just made something out of it. And he's like, this might be it. And it came to my relationship with my parents, my relationship with my inner child, how I deal with conflict, how I deal with my personal conflict and my own expectations because they're so high. And finally boiling it down to the fact that it's not I lack attention, it's that I want to be everywhere all at once.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take care of so many things, right? My parents, myself, like I can't let myself down because I have such high expectations for myself, but that version of me is not the same that my parents expect perhaps,
Yeah.
or maybe people expect. I have lived so many different lives. It's like ADHD, of course, because there's like 7 people inside me. Pause. But there's like a bunch of people inside my mind
Yeah.
that are just functioning all at once as a different personality. Then I left. Then I had 4 sessions with my psychoanalyst, and I missed my psychotherapy or psychologist appointment and went to work, and I discovered that this had grown, and it was affecting my life at work and my life in accomplishing tasks, and told nobody about this. Then when I came back, somehow magically, by coincidence, of course, I get a call that's like, "Hey, you requested to set up an appointment 1 year from now, right?" And it was with the psychologist. So I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." I go into the office, and he does his assessment, does the same sort of thing as a psychoanalyst, but didn't connect with me on that kind of personal level. But he still did his assessment, asked me all the appropriate questions, was very stern, and kind of got to the bottom of it. I filled out a checklist. And I mean, if you want to get the diagnosed with ADHD, you probably can by saying the right things. But
Yeah, your
I
ADHD is like the easiest thing to get
it's
diagnosed
the
with.
easiest
Yeah.
over the counter. I mean, if you want to just answer all the right questions.
Like if you really want it for like whatever those reasons are.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
anybody
100.
wants it.
No, we can't fuck with that.
But I,
Gonna get us canceled, bro.
yeah,
We're at a fucking
I didn't
third
say anything.
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean that's true. No, I got the medication. I told him, I was like, is there any way I can solve this without medication? Because I genuinely didn't want to be medicated. I was like, my goal wasn't to just quick fix this. And he says there isn't unless you want to just muscle through your focus.
Okay, so I've gone to the doctor for this to tell him that I want to go meet with, like I'm doing the steps that you're going through now. So I don't know if he'll send me to like the psychotherapist or an actual therapist or whoever, but I told him the same thing. So I want to go and talk to this guy too. But is there not like, I don't know, practices or exercise or something like that that you can do to like, or it's like meditation. Can you not like do something like that that helps the focus reshift?
That's exactly what, like, our cousin, who's I guess a doctor, and suggested that to me when I told him that I am on this medication now. He said that I have it too, man, like 100%. Um, and he's like, you can muscle through it, right? The muscle through by just, if you're distracted, stop, right? Because it is a level of discipline too over your mind, right?
Also for me, it's like things that I don't want to do. Like it's like it's it's normal. I'll find every reason to do something else besides it,
Yeah.
or even while I'm doing it, I'll be doing like things on the side.
Yeah.
Right? It's just because it's boring, man, or I'm just not into it, and then my mind's like not focused at it, kind of thing.
But it's the switching to tasks, I think.
But even the ability to like try and focus.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's out of my control. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to be that person who. I mean, David, like Goggins, kind of person would be like, just shut up and do it, kind of thing. And that's what, like, our cousin was saying, that you can just do it and muscle through it. But it's like I've been doing it for 25 years or however long I've been struggling with this. My discipline has declined, right? I think the more distractions that came into my life from, I would say, high school to now, I would say I was a much more disciplined person in high school. A large part of this is because of social media, which maybe he was able to, or somebody that's older might not suffer with. I mean, older people definitely are better on that spectrum than we are.
yeah,
Just because, yes, they use social media too, but they're not like hooked to it as much as
yeah.
we
They're
are,
not like
right?
hogging it like we are. Yeah,
Yeah. So, anyways, he assessed me. I was prescribed the medication, and I was very hesitant at first, and then I took it, and it was that the first week, it was like, I was like, the way I described it,
like
in
euphoria, man.
it was euphoria, but I was like happy to be focused.
Yeah,
I was, for the first time,
because you feel what it's like to be at 100%.
100%, but also just like, it's not like something you feel in your mind or anything. It's so subtle.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a subtle transition to where, like, I enjoy this now. That I'm gonna do this until it's completed. Your mind doesn't
You don't think
want
like
to
a bit
go.
of that was like in your head, placebo kind of thing?
Yes, for sure, because the first week was definitely better than now,
Yeah.
and now it's kind of like, I just know. I was reading the other day, and I can't even believe I can do this. I can read a book and have a completely different dialogue running in my head, but I'm reading every single word. I'm like, how can I do this? This is almost like a skill,
Yeah.
to be able to do this. It's almost a skill. I'm reading every single word, and my thoughts are somewhere else, right? And I have no idea what happened in the book. So this was one factor that kind of told me that I was maybe on the spectrum for a deficit in my attention. But there are a lot of other things that I researched on and I connected with, which were like, you have a lot of interesting hobbies and quirks about you. So collecting things, um, like somewhat of an OCD, uh, specific organization. One thing you know about me is I'm an organized mess, right?
Yeah.
I, just like my dad, I know where everything is, but only I know it. And sometimes I'm not the cleanest in a way, but the way I set things up are organized to the T by me because I have like bookmarked everything in my mental journal to be there. But if somebody else came along, they were like, this is not a uh, standard way to set something up. To answer your question, like, how did I feel? It felt euphoric and it felt like I had this mental image that I created and it came to me like on the first week, which was if you can think about like your thoughts like a rope slipping by, and when you lack attention and focus, you're trying to grab that rope over and over, but it keeps ripping you a little bit. And for the first time, I just felt like I could grab that rope of thoughts that were racing by me and just give each thought the respect it deserved and then let it move forward. I finished and massaged the idea before I let it go, and I was able to complete set tasks without kind of leaving them unfinished. And it's not a hack. It doesn't let you do more work. It doesn't let you, it's not like some kind of like limitless pill, It's not like the limitless pill, but
It just helps you focus a little.
Yeah. And for a while I thought that this is something that is like a weakness in me that,
That's what I thought. I was like, I'm uh not like I'm like slow or dumb for having this kind of like weakness, like you said, right? But then that's the thing. That's what I was gonna say. Is like I was able to, um, like even up until like today, like work at such a high level, right? Like whether it's hours or sometimes it's efficiency versus time or whatever it is. And then I almost thought, I'm like, as a joke too, I was like, yo, if I had this pill or whatever I was prescribed, I could be like twice as good as this, maybe even three times as good as this, because I'm able to focus like so heavily on whatever task I need to do. Because regardless if I struggled with something or not, I just had to get it done. I got it done, right? And that was like that was it, right? You just had to get it done, so you did. But it was still like a struggle at that point.
Sure. I think it was a lot of back and forth. I think even laziness is something that, and procrastination is something that goes under the umbrella of um, your way to ADHD because a lot of people think they're lazy and procrastinate. It's not that. People who have ADHD have like bursts of um, energy to and focus to do something and then just crash. And I see that all the time in myself. Like I will just be like, okay, I'm trying to lock in and I do something and I'm so interested and I'm all for it 100%. And then when I have to switch tasks, I'm just like, no, like I will find a wall to stare at or this and that, and I'll find something to just occupy my mind.
Even like things that you do that are supposed to bring you down, like meditation and journaling and stuff like that, even then you're like, I should be doing something else on the side. And so I can like multitask and be more efficient like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, yo, I'm like, this is the time that I'm supposed to be chilling. So when I get free time to like watch a movie or like read a book, right? And at the same time, I'm like scrolling on TikTok, like replying to text and emails or whatever it is. And then I was like, yo, this is the time I should be chilling. And now I'm fucking having to do this on the side at the same time as well. But then in my mind, I'm like, this is good, this is productive. Or you just feel like you forget if you miss a notification, that's a problem. Like especially now, yo, with this thing, man, like phone's blowing up right now.
We wanted to get off social media,
Yeah, man.
and now we have to just
It's
be
like
on it
twice
double
as much
time.
as how much I use it now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but it's weird because I'm on social media, but I don't watch as much as of the. I'm away from the
Like
scrolling
the
now.
consumption, yeah.
I'm just on it just to do work,
Yeah.
and because it's become work, I almost am like disgusted by using it as a reason. I
Yeah.
don't watch
We're not
anybody's stuff.
consuming as much.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, we're consuming it plenty.
Well, not like consuming like content like we normally would.
What is the difference that you have been fundamentally to me? Like you're not very hyper.
Yeah, I'm macho.
Yeah, you're very like they call it pola in our
Yeah, yeah,
language.
yeah,
How do you
chill.
translate that?
Innocent, like soft, car-hearted, whatever you want to call it.
But you were very hyper as a kid, but now like for very long,
Yeah,
you've always been
like
the
my whole
more.
adult life.
This is why I tell him to get excited.
for me, school was the problem. I can work for like for hours, right? And I like even now, whether it's this or my regular job, I can work for a long time. But school, I can't focus. Even like the courses that I'm taking right now for my other stuff, it's just like I can't focus on it. I have to get through it. It's like the most annoying thing ever to like really get down and do it. It takes me longer than it normally would, but it's just I can't focus on things that I don't want to be into or that I don't see like any sort of like instant result almost.
I think that's an indication, but not a lot of people want to do stuff they aren't interested in,
Sure. Yeah.
right? Talk to me more about like the quirks.
I think I had some of those too. Like I'm like organized,
Mm-hmm.
like too much. But it's like a system that works for me and oftentimes works for everybody else too that's like on my team and stuff.
Yeah.
Like even in this thing again, like I set up kind of the foundation for a lot of the stuff. Even like my calendar, it's like overly organized, right? It's crazy, but it works for me because it's just like how I structure my things.
But you lack an impulsivity that I've seen as important
Like what do you
is
mean?
an important indicator for ADHD. So, uh, another thing I researched is that there's a lot of like radical nature and very impulsive behavior in people who are ADHD prone, I guess. That they have these like jumps, right? So if I dive completely into a sport and I just rinse all the juices for like a year and get really good at it, and then I go to another sport, or if I get super hooked into like astronomy, which I would, and then
Yeah, where you were into like as a kid, if when you got into something like that was your thing.
it was, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
actually a characteristic that falls under a symptom essentially, where you're very impulsive, right? This is impulsivity that you go just haywire into something, and then all of a sudden you go haywire into something else, and you're just it's almost like procrastinating, but on a massive scale because you're procrastinating on the original thing you wanted to do. So I personally don't feel like I could do something for the rest of my life. Hence why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And before I was doing something else. And now we have three other ventures we're working on. I almost feel like speaking, like having a conversation about this makes me feel like you might be saved from, I don't know. I feel like
I don't know, man.
I
I
mean,
don't
you
need all
lack
that, bro.
focus, which
Yeah.
everybody does these days, but you're not at a point where it's,
Like it's not crippling or anything
it's
like
not
that. Yeah.
crippling. Yeah.
And we're learning too. Like we have some family and friends that's like at the medical level of this kind of world
Right.
that we want to bring on into this conversation, right? And learn from like a medical side of things. Like I don't want to be like drugged up just
Yeah, because you get used to it.
yeah, right? And
And I've heard almost when you are away from this medication that you can actually get not withdrawals perhaps, but it
like it
makes
makes it
your
worse off.
normality
Yeah, yeah,
worse.
yeah, yeah. Like you build a tolerance to it.
Right. You build a tolerance, and I don't know if I'm at that point. My dosage is quite low, uh, but all in all,
So it's
I
working for you.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Like I
monitor it and
mean,
stuff, right? You see how
I
it goes
have
and everything.
monitored it. Yeah, I think it's generally doing well. Overall, I would urge you to go through the process and assess for yourself and have the professionals assess whether this is something that you need to have. And I hope this isn't something that anybody watching just relates to automatically, because it's very relatable to just be like, yeah, I'm impulsive too, and I like a lot of things, and I was like, it's not Advil. It's taken very systematically, and it has a lot of, not a lot, but it has certain side effects like your ability to sleep and BED, binge eating disorder. So I hope if you feel that this is something that relates to people, and if it relates to you, go through the right processes and really understand that this is something that helps you but doesn't do the work for you. This is, again, not a limitless pill. It just allows you to retain focus on what you're doing and allow you to not have a scatterbrain, but it's not a hack, and it does come with a price.
And I'm pretty
So,
sure more people are on it than we even realize.
oh, it's the most.
Yeah.
I was reading. I think I was watching Huberman's video on this, but it's the most like abused and like used medication outside of like drugs to
Yeah, like
like
caffeine and stuff. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we'll definitely have more conversations about this. It's something that we're like, I'm very new to this, and you're relatively new to this,
Very
like
new.
on the kind of other, on like the medicine side of it, like not just living through it and
Right. We are
almost
not
not
healthcare
like,
professionals.
yeah, not like knowing what it is, just experiencing it and thinking it was normal. But yeah, we're definitely gonna have more conversations about this. We're gonna bring people on that know a lot more than we do and can actually teach us and you guys about this world. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. This was the Saint Soldier Project, and we're trying to keep these episodes, in the 25 to 30 minute mark. So if you didn't make it to the 25 or 30 minute mark, then maybe get yourself checked out. I'm just joking. It's not that serious, but yeah. Thank you for listening. I'm Atab from the Saint Soldier Project. This is Deshwar, and we're going to post everything in the show notes. All the socials are going to be linked below. Our podcast is on all major platforms: Apple, Spotify, Pocket Cast, and so on. And yeah, we're looking forward to the next episode. And until then, let us know what you think. Please DM us, message us if you guys have any future topics that you guys want us to discuss. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Oh, I hope that turned out good. That was a really good episode. Good job, bro. That was awesome.